Hey y'all, how's it going? I'm trading the ES futures on a 2000 tick chart with a 21 EMA. So I've got the overnight high up here and the overnight low down here. These are our key levels for the day. And so I started trading at 8 Central Standard Time, which is just before this double bottom. It's actually about halfway through this push down. And so when we start pushing down here, it's clear we're forming a second leg. They're clearly connected like a two-legged move. And when we make this double bottom, this is right before the market opens. So this is our overnight session. So this is our overnight low. And so when you just form the overnight low, you can expect a reversal pattern. You can get a failed second entry pushing above. Of course, you'd have to get out of this trend line, which at the time is like this, which it did break there. But we end up never forming the setup. We kind of just drop out of nowhere. There's no way to go short either. When you just have a bounce off a double bottom, also the overnight low, with just one leg, this is just a first entry. You could very easily make a second leg up there. And so we do end up pushing down. We break out of this overnight low again. We get one attempt to fade back in. Well, at first we get this smaller attempt, then we get this count reset, and then only get one attempt again. So it's just a first entry on this breakout pullback, so there's no reason to actually take a short on it. But we do end up continuing down. This measured move gets met. Unfortunately, there's no clear entries on the way down to this measured move. These barely get to the EMA. This one barely gets to the EMA, but it's closing all the way down here and it's sideways. There's unfortunately nothing. And then with a new low here, first entry, and it's just not good enough on a first entry. You want to see two legs back, but we do end up pushing into the measured move here. Measured move has been met. Now on a bigger picture, we can tell that this is one leg. We're getting that second leg down now. Just going to show the bigger picture structures really quick. We have downtrend, break. This whole thing is the break, making a second leg down. So I can draw out this. Whoops, I meant to copy that. So we're clearly getting a second leg down, but I'll get into that as we progress through this review. So anyway, we push on through. We get this break. We draw out this trend line. It fits pretty well. At first it was like that. Then you kind of extend it. It's clearly all going along the same angle. It's clearly part of a trend. And so when we get this break right here, that of course this break is with this uptrend. You get a break, a couple legs at a new high, and now with these two legs at a new high for this uptrend, it's really forming a second leg. And so let me just copy that over. The measured move isn't met here, but the reason that doesn't bother me here is because this uptrend still has a break and two attempts at a new high. So I'm not concerned about completely reaching the measured move. We have two attempts, and if you have two attempts without reaching it off a resistance level, you can get a failure entry. And we just plummeted on down. I had this trend line here drawn. I didn't want to take a short inside of this uptrend line because then it can just bounce right off, stop you out, and then go down where you thought it was going to go anyway. So we have this closeout here, that's when I liked it. And then it did kind of take a while. And this trade is very similar over here. It's basically a repeat pattern, kind of. It's like a bigger picture version of the same trade. I wouldn't call it a repeat pattern necessarily. It's just like I said, bigger picture version of a similar trade. But there was a pretty clear warning to get out at break even. So I'll get into that when I go there. But so we push on lower here. Now I want to address how it didn't go much farther than this 1-to-1, and it's most likely because of this previous measured move level over here. It blasted on through this first time a decent bit, so I wasn't too concerned, but these are still key levels here, and so it was into that previous measured move level. And even though it didn't bounce right off of it at first, it still did have a strong reversal very soon after pushing through. So considering that push through, I don't think it's bad, but it's just if price struggles to get through this level, then you ought to look to get out if it starts really reversing on you. But once again, considering it's already pushed through, I figured it is most likely okay enough for 1-to-1. But I really would have liked to see it push lower. I don't like how it barely filled, but that's fine. Sometimes that just happens in trading. But anyway, we push on up here. You can see here. You can kind of see those two legs down here before pushing back up. And so we push up. you get this higher low right here. I didn't like it because it's just so involved in this, completely choppy area right here. So I did not like that. But we do push up here. You can see those 2 legs up. Attempt to reverse. We end up continuing higher. We kind of got this breakout pullback off this range. It went significantly back in, but that's kind of what we have there before pushing on out. And then notice how, kind of like over here, we had 2 legs up, but on a bigger picture, these 2 legs up form 1 leg. You have the same thing here. You have 2 legs up, but on a bigger picture, we can tell that these are just larger legs. And so this is almost perfect. I think it's 1 tick away. Here, let me make sure that's exact. It's 1 or 2 ticks away from reaching that measured move. And then we have a very sharp push out. Now, so this is basically the same kind of trade as over here. At first we had the downtrend, 2 legs back, retesting, and then here we have downtrend, and then on a bigger picture, 2 legs back, retesting the overnight low. So very similar. And also we have this trend line, just like over here. I didn't want to enter into the trend line. Same thing over here. And then when we pushed out, this was an opportunity to find an entry, but it never triggered. I wouldn't have put the target, or excuse me, I wouldn't have put the entry order all the way down there. I would have used a limit order, but it never triggered there in the first place. And then here we closed back in, and so that kind of got me worried, in case it does some double trap where it ticks lower, stays within the trend line, and then pushes back down. So I didn't like how it shot back above the EMA and then closed back above the line. That's just, I was not feeling that. And so I decided to wait, and then we pushed on lower here, and then on this pullback, this is where, my limit order got filled. And so this is the entry point right here after this pullback right there. And so when it started getting very choppy, it kind of reminded me over here how it got choppy at first, but I had a clear warning to get out at break even, like I said earlier. So we have this push down, clearly 1 leg on a bigger picture. You can clearly draw it within this trend. You have a leg down, and then, it gets a little bit choppy, but then you get a clear leg up there. Or I don't mean to say clear. I understand it's choppy. It's not perfectly clear, but, after this downtrend, you do have that push up right there, a break, and a second push up. So this is basically a failed second entry. It's not a very clear failed second entry. It's not like a good setup, but technically you have a failed second entry. And so what I was hoping for was this failed second entry will launch us down to the target. But if this failed second entry cannot launch us down to the target, and this chop holds, that's telling us we're going bullish because we have this recent higher low. If we can't get through this resistance on a failed second entry right after a bigger picture entry, then there's no use in staying in the trade. And what ends up happening is we push out these lows a little tiny bit. Which, let me redraw these here. Little tiny bit, we push out and immediately just spring back up. Now it says break even. That's it's actually break even -2, so -2 ticks. I didn't put it directly on break even, so I actually did lose 2 ticks on this one right here. But that at this point, with 28 on the previous one, -2 isn't a big deal, so I didn't mind kind of risking, kind of hoping it pushes back down. I put it on -2, but anyway, so we push on up here. We make this double top. It's not even, well, it is a double top, but it's also kind of a triple test of this overnight high. Of course, these 2 swings did push in quite a bit more, but they're clearly reacting to the same area. So, at this point, if we did get under the EMA, I do think it would have been good, to look for some kind of failed second entry, like a retest kind of trade, pushing back in. But unfortunately, we don't get anything like that. So we don't get anything to take there, but it kind of just gets choppy. We push back up. No way that I would go long right here. Once again, this measured move has already been met. I'm not going to enter right into it, directly into it. This one's a bit different because with this measured move, it's already pushed through, pushed back out. There's a chance it might not be in play. But in this case right here, it's very clearly reacting to it right then. So I'm not going to look for a long, someone was talking about a trade off of this, but you know, for me, there's just no way. It's right into that measured move. But we do end up pushing higher here. We get choppy, and then we plummet out of nowhere. This just happened in the last few minutes. Like 10 minutes ago or something, or maybe a little bit longer. It was just up here, before I started making this video, and now it's all the way down here. So I'm gonna see this bigger. Let me get this drawn here. So here we go. These two major legs down. Like I say, price action levels get bigger as more time goes on. This entire day, you can zoom in and see a bunch of movement and see a bunch of setups and patterns, right? But you zoom out and the whole day is still a pattern. So, it just goes to show price action levels, you really got to look at this bigger picture stuff. Downtrend, break, attempting a new low, clear two-legged move on a very big picture. So, that's what I'm trying to show here, the bigger picture movement, and how, and by the way, if you look at a higher time frame chart, I like the 7,000 tick chart. I don't look at it all that often, but, what I think is good is to use a higher time frame chart to get used to bigger picture stuff, but try to phase it out, try to not use it, try to get used to just looking at your main chart. That's what I do. I only look at the 2,000 tick chart. Occasionally, I will pull out the 7,000, usually to show other people stuff. But sometimes I'll look at it if I'm, if it's a particularly, annoying day with the price action. You know what I mean? Sometimes it's easier to pull out a higher time frame chart and take a look, see some, kind of smoother patterns. Because you look at this on a 7,000 tick chart, this will look a lot smaller, So anyway, it can just be easier to see like that. I don't mean to go on about that for too long, but yeah, as we push down here, really nothing to get in on the way down. With this measured move in play, say that we pushed down to here, got out of this trend line, and then got two very clear legs back. Like say we got something like this. Let me just draw something out here. So pretend like none of this happened down here. If we had rushed down here with this bigger measured move in play, we could look for a failed second entry. So of course there's no chance at this point here for this, but if you ever see yourself in something similar, you just got a major retest of this overnight low, expecting a second leg down. Great place for a failed second entry. Definitely a great place for a very big picture failed second entry. But unfortunately we just dropped on down with no entries on the way. So that's going to be it for this video. Hope you found it helpful in some kind of way. And yeah, thanks for watching. I'll see you next time.